Okay, so we're going to do a series of little tutorial videos on using the BDX crossover clubs, which is essentially a heavy Indian club. They weigh in at about 2.3 to 2.7 kilos. We'll show you the techniques and the basic kind of part one drills, I suppose, that we use with these. We use these especially in our boot camp classes. We're then also going to do a basic meal flow. So these are Persian meals. These are light. These are 3 kilo meals, which are very light. This is a copy of the ones that I kind of learned to use initially, which weigh about 9 kilos each. The techniques we're going to use with the X Club are a little bit more flowing than we use for the meals, purely because of the weight. There's a few basic drills that you want to run through to determine that you're not using a club that is too heavy for you. So starting with these, where the club sits, your hand should be around the navel. Some people choose to have that little split at the bottom finger, but it's not absolutely necessary. And then you sit, you can see the position of my elbow, the shoulders are drawn back. One of the first drills that I like to do is just rotating through the shoulder girdle there, both ways. And it just reminds me that I'm not moving the club or the hand, I'm moving from the shoulder and from the midsection of the body. The first drill I like to do to check that the club's not too heavy for me is just a simple high block. So I bring the club up and block it. You can see that I've got a door frame here, okay, and I hold it there, 1, 2, and then down, and then the other side, up, 1, 2, and down. If I go to the meals, the same thing, holding the clubs here, come up, nice door frame position, 1, 2, and down, and up, 1, 2, and down. You can see that I'm quite soft in my stance, so I'm not locked out, I'm quite soft in the stance. The club comes up, 1, 2, and down, and 1, 2, and down. If you're struggling with that as an exercise, chances are your clubs are too heavy. And a lot of people go for quite heavy Persian meals initially. All they're going to do is increase the risk of injury because the shoulder is not really strong enough to absorb that load. So do bear that in mind. It's often better to start with a lighter club. Okay, using the BDX clubs or a heavy-ish Indian club, we always start with hinges. So we punch the clubs forward. So they're punching out. As soon as they punched out, we let them swing, hinge, up and catch. Punch, hinge, up and catch. So that catch position is my low catch position. Slowly I punch out, I let the clubs almost pass my hip. It's at that point that I want to rapidly contract my hip flexors, pulling me into that position, and then contract my hip extensors, driving the clubs back up. So it's not simply letting the clubs swing you, it's your midsection swinging the clubs. So I punch out, pull, up, catch. So there's that little bit of timing involved, okay? Then we add around the world. So we punch, hinge, catch. Left arm comes around, so it's that simple block, around and chop through. Whenever you're working with the clubs, think of their original purpose. It was strength training for wrestlers primarily. So we're always looking at where we can catch that arm, or if an arm is on board there, am I pulling my humerus in towards my midsection, okay? Often I see videos where the elbows are flaying out nowadays, and my thought process is they've lost kind of the original purpose of the drills. Okay, so do think of that. So again, I punch out, hinge to catch, left arm around the world, punch, hinge to catch, right arm around the world. That's the first drill. Second drill, TOCKS. I turn to my left. I'm going to throw the clubs, tick, tock, up to catch, turn back to centre. Turn to my right, throw the clubs, tick, tock, up to catch, turn back to centre. The tick-tock motion is like a partial deadlift with a rotation. So do be careful for obvious reasons that you're not going to over-rotate initially. To learn that motion, you turn and drop the clubs down to the floor. So you can see that little kind of bounce that I'm getting. And I'm looking in the direction of the clubs. From the side, I'm here, there's that little hinge, and then I'm dropping side to side. In the tick-tock, that's the second drill. Third drill, turning flags. I'm going to start with my right club. I punch the club out, let it drop. As it drops through, I push the left arm out, turning, looking back behind me. Then I push, and I'm pulling the left club back in. Then I punch the left club out, and back in. Push, 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 push. I'm always using the opposite side of the body to engage and pull the opposing side back in. So when you're doing that drill, as that right arm comes out, as it starts to swing back in, think of pulling in with the left to draw you through. Once you get that as a drill, there's much more of a functional carryover to the exercises you're doing. Simply, if you think boxing, as you throw that jab, the right shoulder is withdrawing to fire that other side out. So that's one way that we could apply that drill, for instance, for training boxers. The fourth drill is the ZOORKHANEH drill. So this is just something that I've named it. Obviously, ZOORKHANEH translates to House of Strength. My original coach was an Iranian wrestler and wrestling coach. And a champion of champions, and he was the chap that taught me with the heavy clubs originally, as well as all the other bodyweight drills, etc., all the different press-up drills, squat drills, and really gave me a foundation of what I teach today. And in my gym there's always pictures of him up to remind me of where all this knowledge has come from. Now, this drill, the way I teach it, is I turn to my left and my weight is forward on my left leg. Essentially the arm is just really doing a chopping motion, and it's the turning of the hips and the body that creates this circular torque at the shoulder. So I've turned to my left, left arm drops, and I turn to my right, slight weight shift. Now the right arm, and I turn to my left. And again, and again. So I do each exercise 4 times. So I'm here, now I'm going to drop back on my left. So I shift my weight back onto my right, back onto my left, back onto my right. The last 4 I step. So I step to the left, step to the right, step to the left, step to the right. So I'll film it from the other way around. So I turn to my left, my weight's forward on my left leg. I drop and weight shift over, drop and weight shift over. A weight shift, weight shift. That's the first 4. Now I shift back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I step. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So the ZOORKHANEH drill is those 12 movements all together. The 5th drill, turning lunges. So from here I'm going to punch the clubs out as I step back. And I drop down, get this little bit of separation with the clubs, and on the 4th I step up. So again, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Very important with the turning lunges that you pivot on the ball of the foot. The next drill is a simple strength drill. So starting in the low catch, the clubs come under the chin. They press up, out to this double flag position, and then back into the catch. So we come 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we just perform it in the flow for 2 reps. However, with all these drills, you may initially want to practice them for 5 or 10 reps individually first. The next drill is our hinge to squat. So we punch the clubs forward, get that hinge up, catch on the shoulders as we squat. Punch, hinge, catch as we squat. As I stand up from my squat, I naturally just pull the clubs back to this position. From the front, you'll see that I often step out into my squat. So my feet are tighter in when I hinge, and there's that little step into my squat each time. The same when I add in the press for the last drill, the thruster. So I punch forward, hinge, squat, up and thrust. Punch forward, hinge, squat, up and thrust. With the thruster, we're adding in triple extension, so hip, knee, and ankle, okay, as we press up through. So it carries over into more of a jump, and we can use this as jump prep as we do in some of the other workouts that we do. So with the BDX clubs, the basic routine is as follows. Punch, hinge to catch, left arm around the world. Punch, hinge to catch, right arm around the world. Turn to the left, throw, tick, tock, up and catch, back in. Right arm turning flag, back in. Left arm turning flag, back in. Turn to my left, ZOORKHANEH drill. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sitting back, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Stepping, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Turning lunges, 1, 2, 3, stepping up, 4. Strength drill, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hinge to squat and hinge to squat. Hinge to thruster and hinge to thruster. And that's your basic drill using these clubs. We have 9 more drills worked out to ascend up through using these clubs, but for the most part, this is the one that we refer back to, especially in workouts like our boot camp workouts, and there are examples of those on YouTube already.